All right, guys, the only way to make sense of what's happening around the world today is to have some knowledge of what's going to happen tomorrow. And God has seen fit to tell us a great many things about tomorrow, in that he's left about 400 or 500 unfulfilled prophecies of the end times. We reserve a few minutes Sunday morning to suggest news or trends in the news that would be predicted by our reading of these prophecies. And we're not saying that they are the fulfillment of them, just that you'd expect them. And of course, we try and use as reliable a source as possible for our news so that we're not being accused of sensationalism or being out on the fringe. A Jewish temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem is going to play a critical role in what the Bible calls the time of Jacob's trouble, most commonly known as the Great Tribulation. Both Daniel and Jesus reference there being an end times temple. When there's news about rebuilding the temple or reinstating its worship, then that is bringing us into this prophetic understanding. A recent news article was titled, "Red Heifers Arrive in Israel from Texas in Anticipation of the Third Temple." And I'll read you a couple of excerpts from that article. It says, "The Temple Institute and Bonei Israel made a huge step towards reinstating the temple service when 5 red heifers landed at Ben Gurion International Airport. The red heifer was the main component in the biblically mandated process of ritual purification for impurity that results from proximity or contact with a dead body. Because the elements needed for this ceremony have been lacking since the destruction of the Second Temple, all Jews today are considered ritually impure, thereby preventing the return of the temple service. The cows were between 5 and 8 months old. To be suitable for the red heifer ceremony, the cow must be 2 years and 1 day old, so these heifers will be raised in Israel until they reach the proper age." And so this is a really, really big deal. Ever since I can remember, they have been searching for the red heifer, and you think, well, they're all over the place. This has to be absolutely red, no white hairs, no other hairs, and apparently that's really difficult even when you paint them. But no, so I mean, and the rabbis have to inspect it, and it's such. So now they have 5 of them all of a sudden, and so it's pretty exciting. Have you heard of the Abraham Accords? Well, they are a series of joint normalization statements initially between Israel, the United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. They've been effective since September of 2020, and they are essentially peace treaties that Israel is trying to make with nations in that region. Another article reported that Foreign Minister Eli Cohen was working to normalize ties with Mauritania, Somalia, Niger, and Indonesia. And so that's exciting. We're supposed to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and so it's great that they are forming these peace treaties, but it's also a reminder that the thing that really triggers the Great Tribulation in the Bible is that whoever the Antichrist is, he signs a peace treaty with Israel, guaranteeing their protection, and that begins that 7-year period of time, that the time of Jacob's trouble. And so this isn't that. This hasn't started, but it's interesting that more and more nations are getting on board with peace with Israel. In the meantime, anti-Semitism is at an all-time high, and so there's just a lot of news coming out of Israel. You might have heard also that I don't know what their governing body is. It's some strange government that nobody can understand but them. But it works. They were going to pass some law that made it illegal to share Christ. And Netanyahu stepped in. He says, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to impinge on that. And so that was, thanks, Bibi is what they call him. Benjamin Netanyahu is called Bibi. So I like that, right? I'd like to be called Bibi someday. No, that's not true. But anyway, so lots of stuff coming out of Israel, but the red heifers, the peace accords, focusing our attention on the people who are the apple of God's eye. Now, I mentioned the start of the tribulation. A lot of people think the rapture of the church is the start of the tribulation. That's not really said in the Bible or taught. We think it'll be in proximity to that, but the rapture could come at any time. It's an imminent event. Jesus promised to come and resurrect the dead believers in Christ. And then those who are alive, he has to change into our glorified bodies and catch us all up into heaven to be with him. We'll return with him after the 7 years to establish the millennial kingdom and 1,000-year reign of Jesus on the earth. And so the question is, are you ready for the rapture? because it could happen at any moment. If not, get ready, stay ready, keep looking up, because ready or not, Jesus is coming.